Call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please read the statement? The meeting notice?
Adequate notice of this regular meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 17, 2024. Open Public Meetings Act, NJSF 10:4-7.
Thank you. You all please stand with me and join in our pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
God, indivisible,
with
liberty
and
and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Just waiting, Councilmember Di Benedetto is just coming on.
there she is.
Councilmember Bucieri,
Yes, I hear.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Present.
Councilmember Higgins, Councilmember Sparta,
Present.
Council President Rizzuto.
Here. Occasionally, when you're chairing a meeting like this, you have the great pleasure of recognizing a group of people or an individual for a significant accomplishment. And that's something that we don't get to do a lot. Quite honestly, the number of times that we're here, many of the comments that we receive, are those addressed to us because somebody is dissatisfied. Quite the contrary on this situation, because the young men and women who sit here before us have had a very recognizable impact on what they've done. And the community is proud of it. And I, along with my fellow council members, thought that it would be appropriate for you to come here and be honored. And we can't honor all the teams, but I think what we have here are champions, people who have gone to that extent, who have competed and who have risen to the top. Certainly, the individual work that was done by Gabrielle Tavares in becoming the individual overall state title is something that we all want to recognize. And Ms. Tavares, if you come forward. Perhaps, is your parents with you? Please bring them with you. You are being honored for your state title in skiing.
Move over here so you can see.
See over here.
There you go. See, you're on a big screen now.
There you go. They're on the screen.
Please come.
Dad?
Your accomplishment.
Yes,
Oh, your accomplishment as well.
she couldn't have been here without you guys. So we really want to. Yes. Present you with this plaque presented to Gabrielle Tavares, individual overall state title, Vernon Township Girls Ski Team, 2023-2024. Congratulations for your determination and athletic accomplishment. Today's date, April 8, 2024. You'll also be getting the certificate that you could frame and it's signed by the mayor and myself.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
The several people, what it took to get to what you did.
She went fast. You went fast down a hill.
know, 1,000. I don't know how big Mountain Creek is, but yeah, just practiced a lot. on the
Good,
golf.
good.
Lots of practice.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're graduating this year?
yeah,
Okay, going to school?
yeah.
Whereabouts?
Salve Regina University in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Do they have any big mountains in Rhode Island? I
Hey.
think we got a spot down for her in Colorado. Okay, thank you again. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not to be outdone, the girls ski team did pretty well on their own right. Am I correct? Right? Overall state champions? So you got the big banner you're gonna hang in the gym? Good, it's great. We'd like to have the team come up here, please. Bring your parents, please. Mr. Thierry, would you help join with me? Let me see, where are the?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know, I know.
I think right there.
Under the plaque,
Yeah, that.
baby.
I think they're right here.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, lie down. There.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You'll get on the picture.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Shove on in.
Yeah.
Yvonne coming.
This is the girls team?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're all over here. I don't want to be in any of these.
Captain and coach, where's the captain? There a captain?
Oh, happy to.
And your
Yeah.
sister?
My sister's not here.
Okay, and coach?
I point.
How are you?
Doing fine.
So we can get you on the screen.
Natalie's over here.
Natalie? Don't disappear.
I want to get in front though.
Oh.
I want a picture of them. I don't need to.
In recognition of the efforts of the girls ski team, Township would like to present to the Vernon Township High School Girls Ski Team overall state champions. 2023, 2024. Congratulations for your determination and athletic accomplishments. April 8th, 2024. You've got a great team that you captained, and I'm very, very happy to have you here and present this to you. Emily, if you'd like to give out the individual certificates.
Gabrielle, congratulations. Thank you. There's great. Here, I can take it.
Amanda. Congratulations, Kelsey. Congratulations, Nadia. Congratulations, Carolina. Oh, how are you? Congratulations.
Good job, girls.
Good job. See your coach and moving you along and getting you to this level.
A lot of hard work.
I'm sure it is. A lot of commitment. That's what champions are made of.
Absolutely.
Commitment.
They had that.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate you taking the time to come here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Township is proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats, girls.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Done, Mr. President.
Nope,
One more.
one more.
Basketball team.
Not to be outdone. Boys had a great year this year. You really had a fantastic year. I don't do wells, I'm sorry, I don't do hills well, at my age, but, it's just a little slippery, but I do basketball courts. Okay, and I came down and I saw a number of games and you guys did a heck of a job, a real good job. When you put Glen Rock away, that was really phenomenal. That was really good. Nice going. And, I was not able to attend the Tri-County Championship, the 100 and Warren Sussex County, tournament, but you guys won it. And you did it convincingly, so, presented to the Vernon Township High School boys basketball team, the 100 and Warren County, Sussex County champions, 23-24. Congratulations for your determination and that on your athletic accomplishments. April 8th, 2024. So if you guys come on up. Come on down with the team.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Yeah, 5'8". That's what they told me, right? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations. 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 There's a guy my size. Congratulations. Team captain here
Right here.
Big Ben.
and a coach.
Right here.
Coach. Stand here as a picture of accepting the flag. Okay, council members?
Yeah.
You can give us all in?
Got my tippy toes.
You're good. You're good. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck.
Thank you.
Who's graduating?
This guy down here, we have one other senior who's not able to make it tonight, but we had the 3 this year. Everybody else will be back for next season. So
Great.
gotta keep it going. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I know that guy.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you.
What Mr. Rizzuto failed to mention was that for the first time ever, Mr. Foley, correct? They made it to the Group 2, North Section 1 Group Finals down at Ramsey. And I tell you, you guys are right there with a few minutes left in the game and
They didn't lose, they ran out of time.
exactly.
I like that one.
So great job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you again. Yeah, thank you again.
Sure, you gotta- gotta go.
Absolutely.
I work with your wife.
It's, yeah,
I know, but-
We're missing a few, yeah.
over the years, we're just trying to keep building that. I do, no, I'm the JV, assistant coach. Yeah, Steve Meyer, he's the freshman coach. He does baseball. I don't.
Brett's all the way down at the end.
We're working on it, almost there.
So
Absolutely.
Mr. Foley, how can I get one of these sweatshirts? They're pretty nice.
Ask Coach Hill.
let me see what I can do.
There you go. Thanks, that's
We all good?
very nice. Thank you.
Good job, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Here. Yeah.
The bunch of DAL.
I understand that you gentlemen have major undertakings tomorrow because of the vacation that you just had, and you're gonna be having to take a lot of tests and stuff, so you might want to leave if you want. And
You're about to get bored.
feel like you have to sit here and
We won't be offended.
listen to us drone on, okay?
I didn't see anybody walk in with pillows, so I know you're not prepared to stay.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
For your
Thank you
eyes.
so much.
Thank you, guys.
Parents, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Oh, he does.
She put the trophy. Trophy in.
Huh?
Brought the trophy.
Excuse me,
Oh, bring the trophy up.
We see that trophy?
Mr. Foley, bring the trophy up.
Gabrielle, is she here? Kelsey, is that for the team?
Bring it up so they can see it on
Yeah,
TV.
maybe we can take a picture of that and bring it up over by the.
Piece broke up, don't worry about it.
It's a little crazy glue.
I heard
Oh, it's okay.
See the camera hanging up there on the top, just so,
So Jessica could see it, yeah.
And do you know what that trophy is made of?
obviously not gold.
No, it's made up of a lot of sweat, determination.
Original beams from the original lodge.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah?
Jeez.
Great.
Beams and cut them and made them into the.
Wow.
Oh, that's really,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Finished second in states overall,
Oh,
so
that's
you'll probably.
awesome.
see her
Kelsey.
next
Good
year.
job.
Oh, nice.
Good job. I think weighs more than me. I don't.
Oh,
Just gotta stay open, Bill.
thank you.
It's a woman here.
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Council, for your.
Problem.
We have two proclamations this month, National Volunteer and also Child Abuse Month. Mr. Higgins, would you like to read the designation of April as National Volunteer Month? Oh, you don't have it, should be in your.
Yes, whereas volunteers are an integral part of committees or communities throughout this country, Vernon Township is well known for its spectacular volunteer spirit. A large measure of Vernon's strength, beauty, and unique character is derived from the outstanding contributions made by thousands of residents who volunteer in every facet of everyday life and play a vital role in many organizations and groups. And whereas residents who volunteer their time provide assistance which cannot be measured in terms of dollars. Volunteers provide a spirit of helping that multiplies in value when each resident reaches out to assist another, discovering their power to make a difference. And whereas volunteers throughout the township of Vernon donate their time to a wide variety of programs such as arts and recreation, youth athletic leagues, and through their service on multiple township boards, committees, and commissions. And whereas volunteers provide vital emergency services through an all-volunteer emergency medical service department, fire department, auxiliary, and emergency management. And whereas April is a month for volunteers with the occurrences of National Service Recognition Day, Earth Day, and United Way's National Volunteer Month. And whereas during this month, all over the nation, service projects will be performed, volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. Whereas the Vernon Township Council extends their deepest gratitude to the fine men and women who generously donate their time to the community. Whereas Vernon Township, New Jersey, recognizes the benefits derived from volunteers, and encourages fellow citizens to volunteer in their community. By volunteering and recognizing those who serve, we can come together and make a difference. And now therefore, be it resolved by the Vernon Township Council that April is recognized as National Volunteer Month in Vernon Township, New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. And certainly this month brings out another concern we all have, which is the treatment of our children. And perhaps Mr. Sparta could read the Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation.
Absolutely, thank you. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a complex and ongoing problem in our society affecting many children in Sussex County, and whereas every child is entitled to be loved, cared for, nurtured, feel secure, and be free from verbal, sexual, emotional, and physical abuse and neglect. And whereas child abuse and neglect not only directly harm children, but will also increase the likelihood of criminal behavior, substance abuse, health problems, and risky behavior. And whereas the effects of child abuse are felt by communities as a whole and need to be addressed by the entire community. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships among families, social service agencies, schools, religious and civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Township of Vernon does proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and calls upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthen the communities in which we live.
Thank you, Mr. Sparta. Moving along. The last meeting, a member of the community brought up concern for the maintaining integrity of their residents against potential unapproved waters. No, looking for taking residence, otherwise known as squatting. And I thought that was a great recommendation. And following during this, since then, I've been meeting with a number of people in our the professionals in our township, talking with council members and trying to see if in fact we can move on this particular area in developing an ordinance to handle this problem. Problem is that as we began to look into this, and as I began to look into it and speaking with a number of people, there's no statutes in the state that prohibit what this problem is. It's a twofold problem because it becomes at one point a criminal issue, but then on the other hand, it could become a civil issue. And trying to get these two situations to resolve them, it's very difficult for the township to ask its law enforcement people to take part in this because they have no backing. As police on a criminal basis, it's difficult to ascertain whether or not there was a break-in entry, a burglary or something in that line, or if the individuals who now occupy residency in a particular home are doing so legally or illegally or with permission or without permission. And it becomes a question of trying to make that determination, and that can become a civil issue. So there is potential for legislation in the state of New Jersey and Trenton to provide the township officers, law enforcement personnel with the ability to, make that determination and to give them, support in doing their job in trying to, prevent families or individuals from occupying a home, illegally. Until that comes around, it quite possibly could become more of a hindrance than an assistance in terms of passing an ordinance. But that doesn't mean the township is without any type of resources to help our residents in handling this problem. And it's something as simple, and I forgot about it, as calling police headquarters and saying to the police officer on duty that I'm planning to leave my home for a week. I'm going on vacation. Can you please ask or schedule my home for, to be checked on a regular basis? I'm going to be at this number. Here's my telephone number. I have relatives in the area. I have a next door neighbor who has keys for entry, and no one is to be there during the time that I'm away. So now, of course, police can go up, make a check on your residence, and if somebody's there, they can act on it very, very quickly and avoid the entanglement of a potential squatter. Because that seems to be where one of the problems is that if they're there for a period of time and no one else has challenged their right to be there, the longer they're there without this challenge, the more the stronger their case becomes, especially if they have something like a false lease or a bill that shows that, they have ownership there because somebody delivered a pizza there or something like that. So, in my discussions with the police chief and members of the council, members of the administration, they look at this as a definite way of handling this until something is done more completely on in Trenton as a statute that was put through. I know it's not what you want to hear, okay? We'd like to be able to say, you don't belong here, get out. And if you don't get out, I'm going to call the police. And if the police come, they're going to arrest you. It just doesn't work that way. No matter what we try and do, we don't want to provide any legal advice, which is incorrect, and place you at risk or anybody else at risk. And secondly, working with our own police department, we can move this along and provide the residents with a very, very sound way of handling this particular problem. Not to mention that there are these Ring cameras that you can put on your door, which will provide you with up to date, time, hour to hour, pictures of your home and the status of that home, the integrity of its occupancy, and whether or not somebody is there or not. So please, use that. It only becomes beneficial if anything does take place where you need to go to court and you have a photographic record of something like that taking place. So we will not stop. This doesn't mean we're just going to let it go by on its way. It's just that we need a working basis to have this particular type of ordinance supported by the township and passed by the council. Council, have you any comments to say that I've missed that perhaps you might want to be able to provide help to them?
Sure. I think you did a great job summarizing,
you.
almost everything. The council president made a good point about there's a civil side to this and also, that's if you're a squatter, you have to go through ejectment proceeding, which is different from an eviction proceeding, but still very rigorous and has different steps that a homeowner has to take. However, there's a criminal side, if someone's in your home, who has no right to be there and they're there for a short time, that could be considered trespassing, and that is a criminal violation. So that is something that police could help you with. And I would just add, there's a new bill in Trenton that's being considered that would add criminal offenses to the act of squatting. So the person who's squatting in a residence, right now, their only penalty is a civil penalty, and they would just lose possession of the residence that they're staying in. If this bill were to become law, there would also be a criminal element to it as well. So it's just even more further of a disincentive for them to do it. But yeah, and as the council president noted, just given the very strenuous nature of eviction and ejectment proceedings in the state, it is difficult for the township to put forward an ordinance about squatting that would take matters into the township's own hands, so to speak, that would not preempt state law and thus be invalid on its face. So while the township could theoretically pass an ordinance like that, is our belief that should it be challenged, that the likelihood of it being upheld as valid or is very low. You don't want to get in front of you can't preempt state law. You can't get around the eviction laws of the state. They're obviously very strenuous, and they're designed to, I'm sure if anyone's been through it before, they're designed to protect, both the property owner's interest and the tenant's interest. But in this case, you could argue whether or not there is a tenant interest, but
Spotter's interest.
that's for another day, I suppose. But yeah, that would just be all I would add, is that would be it.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. So
Certainly, please.
there's literally no law against squatting in New Jersey? That,
If you don't, I can.
No,
Yeah, so there's obviously trespassing laws,
yeah.
but then that's more for a
Breaking and
short term. Yeah, that's more for short term. So if someone enters a residence which they have no property rights to, they can show, let's say they're there for a few months, they can try to argue that, they're in the process of making that their residence, therefore they are squatter. Squatter is not a legal term.
Like, how do you, I'm being.
Yeah,
a little
no, it's
sarcastic, but, like,
it's a good question.
So they don't own it. You have a snowbird who has a summer home here in Vernon, and they're in Florida all winter. So that's probably the case. It's not for people gone a week on vacation. It's really for homes that are empty.
Yeah.
For significant time periods.
Right. The longer your home is empty,
The more vulnerable.
precautions
Yeah.
you should take. And
So a squatter, has to break in. I'm assuming people lock their houses when they leave for months.
yeah, right. That'd be
Um,
another issue too.
So they have to break, in the scenario, they have to break in, and then they turn on the electric and they fill the oil tank and they start acting like they live there. That's not a crime.
Well, yeah, so it's certainly.
I mean, I'm not faulting you, but.
No, I mean, it's,
That's not
I
a
mean,
crime.
I know it depends on the facts of the situation, but they could be charged with trespassing or breaking and entering. But the real issue, I think, is the homeowner wants their residence back.
Yeah.
Free and clear. So that's where it becomes a bigger issue, because
Interesting.
possession is not a criminal matter. It's a civil matter. It has to be, and it has to go through a court, unfortunately. So you have to go through that whole, ejectment proceeding or eviction proceeding.
Well, ejectment is if they don't have a lease, so that.
Right,
that's-
ejectment is
okay.
if they never had a legal
Okay.
right to the property. Ejection or eviction would be
They had.
as a
the lease.
holdover tenant, maybe who stopped paying rent or,
Mhm.
something to that effect.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is interesting. So that's actually probably a bill that mortgage paying, tax paying homeowners should contact the legislators and support, because that would only just protect them, because there would then be a criminal element to, there'd be some teeth to it.
Yeah, and just for reference, the bill is Senate Bill 725. It's sponsored by Senator Steinhardt and Senator Testa.
Republicans. S25, you said?
725.
Oh, 725.
Another road that you can follow is contacting Mr. Parrott,
Mhm.
in Sussex County, at the county seat, and asking to be put on an alert. The township, the county rather, will put you on an alert notification. Should anybody make an attempt or try to do anything with manipulating ownership of deeds
Mhm.
and ownership documents. Soon as that is, they recognize that something is taking place, they will notify you. And provided you give them the contact information and so forth. And you can take steps to stop that. So that's something else that you can do.
Well, and to our community, if you are a snowbird and you do leave your home, I think it definitely makes sense to do what's suggested and notify the police department.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's a mechanism within the township to notify the zoning official or, like, don't pull any permits because I'm not paying for any new construction, like, whatever might be happening. Interesting.
I might be very old school here, but I think it comes down to get to know your neighbors as well, you know?
Uh-huh.
I have a neighbor that lives next door to me, when I'm away and I forget to tell him because we do normally communicate when we're gonna be away. And he'll call me up. He's like, hey, there's a car in your driveway. You around? And, I appreciate that. That goes a long way. All of our entire town is basically built on communities. We have very few houses that are remotely located that can't be seen by another house or something like that. So, if you live in a community and you're new here, I encourage you, not only for this, but for other reasons, to reach out to your neighbor, get to know them, exchange cell phone numbers, let them know that you're going to be away. If they see anything strange, so please reach out to you. And you can follow the other suggestions that were listed here. So get to know your neighbors. Most of the time, they're really good people.
Two other questions.
Certainly.
Is it possible that people could say, go to a state park, not used in the wintertime, and take over a facility there, not a personal residence, but a state-owned property?
It's certainly possible. I don't know if they would have any legal right to the property. I'd have to look into it more about a state or locally owned property, how that would work. My guess is that it would not go on. My guess is it would be noticed before they could consider themselves longer term. So it would be trespassing before it would be a squatter or, establishing any sort of premises rights.
Right.
Based off that, because it should.
Commercial properties are different from residential properties as well?
In terms of landlord tenant, yes, I would have to, I'm not sure about someone who's trying to live in a commercial property, and my guess is it's similar, but they are treated a little separately in landlord tenant court, generally, but my guess is it's the same process.
Okay, are there any municipalities because it's obviously a state decision, that have adopted their own?
I tried looking through it. I couldn't find anything that was really on point. I think like I mentioned, it's just hard to get in front of the state on this one because if you're circumventing or if you seem to be circumventing landlord tenant court, you run into enforcement issues. I think you kind of put maybe you put law enforcement in a precarious position, and then you put residents in a precarious position because they might rely on a law that on its face could be invalid, and if they went through the proper channels, it might be their issue might be resolved beforehand. And if we, so to make a long story short, no, I have not seen another town's ordinance that has directly addressed this. That's outright said
No squatting.
no squatting, or made it made it like a finable offense. With this bill in Trenton, that this would give, in my opinion, in our opinion, it would give municipalities some teeth in trying to.
What's your guess on timeframe? When will we see that?
Yeah, I wish I knew. I can't. I haven't worked in Trenton in a long time, so I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
being put.
Maybe if we're sitting there in 6 months, it will be a test case and pass that on that.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's, I can't speak to the merit or the likelihood of success of the bill. I just know that it has been introduced and it looks to be adding, you know, I think at least 3 criminal offenses to fourth degree crimes to people who are trying to, you know, gain residence in a place that they're squatting.
Mhm.
Stealing a house, basically.
Perhaps,
we're saying
perhaps
squatting,
our
we're thinking-
administration can comment on this as well.
What I can tell you is the chief was at a Chiefs Association meeting a couple of weeks ago and speaking with all the other chiefs in Sussex County, nobody in Sussex County has any kind of ordinance on this. And that's just here, I don't know outside of Sussex County, but definitely not anyone in Sussex County has anything.
So I just want to, if you don't mind, I just want to add if you go to sussexcountyclerk.org, you can register your block and lot there and or your name. You can find your block and lot information at the www.sussex.newjersey.us or simply click on the property alerts, and there is a direct link to retrieve your lot and block. Registering with the lot and block will only limit the potential alerts received. This service does not stop fraudulent activity. So I guess what the important thing is to understand that you don't want to find out 6 months later that you haven't made a payment to your second mortgage, right? So you'll know right away that there's been a change. It doesn't prevent it, but at least you can get on top of it right away. That's the whole point of what was set up at the county. I will post the information and directions on my site. The police will be doing it on their Facebook site as well. And I'll look to put this link on our Vernon Township website page as well. This way people can, you know, get this, get themselves registered. So, sorry,
Thank you.
jumped in now.
Okay. Let's move on. Next item for discussion is consideration of the mayor's position in terms of his employment as mayor, that whether it be full-time or part-time. I'm sorry, thank you. Whether it be full-time or part-time. This question has arisen a number of times, but I don't think it's ever really been addressed, not to anybody's satisfaction. We've had 4 mayors, Mr. Murata, Mr. Shortway, Mr. Burrell, and our current mayor, Mr. Rossi. All 3 of them, or I'm sorry, all 4 of them, including Mr. Rossi, have started out and worked as full-time. They've expressed the feeling that their presence is needed and they consider it a full-time job. By nature of the fact that they are the mayor, the chief executive officer of the township, and that all of the emergency personnel report to them, report to him or her, that brings to question that that person who occupies that office is available, must be available 24/7. So in that regard, it's a full-time job. But if you're looking at whether or not they have to come in every day, that again becomes a question as to whether or not they feel their staff can handle the operations of the township without him being available or on site or providing oversight every day. So it's a questionable situation. And I open it up to the council for discussion. Anyone wishing to talk about it?
Well, it's been discussed, even before I've been on the council. I was speaking to the mayor and last July, last October, there was a pretty good discussion taking place. Mr. Spartans, which are, you had your comments and there were all sorts of different ideas thrown out. And it was not decided, obviously. So the mayor ran knowing that the salary was $30,000. The council members ran knowing that it was $3,000 a year for us. And there were different options thrown out there. Maybe there should be a yearly increase. Maybe there should be a different definition. Possibly there should be a set of regulations and rules and accomplishments, like in other positions. If you go from quote a part-time to a full-time, what are you going to accomplish? Are you paying for time or are you paying for performance? And then you take a look at the people here. We have a business administrator, a CFO, a mayor. Are there cross responsibilities on those different positions? And those things haven't been done yet. So to say and to put in the budget that, hey, we're going to recommend on a sizable increase on what was elected, we're not ready yet, in my opinion, to do that. I'm not saying that I wouldn't support that in the future, but that groundwork has not been done.
Thank you.
I mean, we have debated it quite a bit. I think our current mayor and our former mayor's position was that it was a full-time responsibility. I've never done the job myself. Reading the job description, it's definitely encompasses quite a few responsibilities. I don't know if there is overlap between the business administrator and the mayor, and if it could be a part-time position, but I guess that's something, I don't know if anyone else has opinions on that. And how would we determine that? What's the basis or what's the tool or measurement that would determine? And can we determine that? Can the council make a determination that the mayor's position is full-time or is not full-time? Maybe that's something for council.
Yeah, so the question is, can the council recognize a full-time position, the mayor being, absolutely. I think that would be done. It could be done rather via, I think it's via ordinance. Yeah, that's absolutely something that the council
So we
could
could
do.
designate it full-time or part-time. We could do either one or.
Yeah, well, I guess it's considered part-time now. I was scanning through this
No,
earlier. I didn't
it's
see it.
clear. I don't think
Yeah, I
it's
didn't
clear.
see it.
that's part of the problem.
Yeah, so I
But he's got it up there.
yeah, I have it right here. Yeah, that might be something that needs to be clarified either way. My guess though is that in terms of benefits and all of that, that way it's part-time from the township's perspective, but.
So the mayor's not eligible for benefits currently?
Oh, I don't know. I'm.
Oh, okay. I thought he was, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I just meant, otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, so it's something we can codify if we so choose.
I believe so, yep.
Okay.
What are the ramifications? Are you done, Natalie? I'm sorry. What are the ramifications if we codify an ordinance as a full-time position? As far as, does that lead to compensation? Does it lead to a different level of benefits? Does it lead to being eligible for pension?
Pension, yeah.
What are those things that those two words mean?
Yeah, I mean, it would, if you were to change it, you would set, from my experience with other municipalities and other full-time positions, you would set the salary via salary ordinance or a resolution. I'll let the benefits question to the administrator and staff. I believe so off the top of my head, they would be involved in the pension, but I would check with you.
So, as an elected official, you actually cannot be involved in the New Jersey state pension system.
Okay.
There are different levels, for pension. So a new, mayor, like Mayor Rossi, would not be eligible for pension. You would be eligible for, DCRP, which is kind of similar to a 401k, but it's a designated defined contribution retirement program. So the township contributes, and this is for all part-time employees, but it's specifically for elected officials as well. They contribute 3%, and then the employee contributes 5.5%, and that gets invested and vested as soon as first year is complete.
Thank you.
What about insurance benefits?
So insurance benefits, when I came here in 2018, benefits were already an option for mayors that were on because it was historically considered full-time.
Mhm.
So that was always an option. I don't know what happened under Mayor Murata. I do not know if that was taken for benefits or not. I know that the 3 mayors that we've had, I don't believe we had any benefits that were taken. I'd have to look into that, but.
But it's available. I don't really care who took what, but currently it is available.
Currently, there's nothing that prohibits it.
Prohibits it. Gotcha. Okay.
It would be if it was I will say if it was codified.
Codified, we'd have
to. Time, that would prohibit it.
Mhm. And what about like a vacation or?
No.
So in a town, say possibly where council lives, our main council, he's the mayor of that town, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Right. His salary is what, $15,000?
I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
think that's what it is. I think that's what we looked up. So that's a part-time mayor or is it a full-time mayor?
I don't want to speak for him. I know I'd say he's probably doing both his day job and that job a good amount of time.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I couldn't hear it.
I'm filling in for my boss, Matt Mensch tonight. He's also a mayor. So the question was whether his mayorship is considered a full-time mayor position.
And where was that? What town?
Bridgewater.
The other consideration is the fact that we operate under a Faulkner form of government. And by looking at the form of government we operate under, but moving from town to town, you see various applications of how the administration is recognized in terms of compensation, as well as the elected officials who serve as council. The one that is always used as a comparison with, or frequently used as for comparison, is Newark, New Jersey, which is essentially the same type of government that we have. But of course, because of the size and the number of people, the numbers tend to range higher. But because of the conflicting nature of Sharp James, who was frequently cited as a contestant in any type of litigation, along with the council, who frequently challenged his ruling, the fact that he didn't accept it. There are many judgments that have been handed down which might answer something like this. But again, I caution because the numbers are different. You're looking at a city, one of the largest cities in the state. You're looking at people who are elected. They're paid council's paid in double digits, and so was the mayor's paid in triple digits.
Mhm.
So we're looking at a different way of handling it. But the situation is the same in terms of what the law allows for that form of government. So I just wanted to bring that up. Perhaps if we have a couple of members of the council who would like to.
Does Jess have?
I'm sorry,
input?
Jessica, you weren't here and I apologize.
Just open to public.
No,
No worries.
During comments?
Yeah, well, so I share the same concern as several other people about having a full-time mayor and a full-time BA. I would like to also see what responsibilities overlap or what can be combined into one role.
All right.
Can I just make a comment real quick?
Certainly.
We do not have a full-time BA. She's part-time.
I would just be very careful talking about personnel tonight. There is a process we have to go through if we're going to talk about someone's position. I just want to put that.
I just wanted to
be very careful about
that, because I know that's the story, but.
I don't think this question is out of line. Is there any statutory positions that are needed in?
The Faulkner Act, it's I think the mayor of the council, I have to go through it, but yes, there are positions that are.
I think that would be helpful as well.
And I think a business administrator is a statutorily required
And
position.
the clerk, but those are from my understanding, statutorily required.
Thank you. Would any, rather than just drop it and let it plop and forget about it, is there somebody, member of the council, two members of the council who would like to get together and put together some type of report or recommendations? We can discuss this at a later time. Maybe 2 months hence or something like that. Give you time, give anybody time who's willing to do it, to contact other townships of similar size with the same type of governing platform, Faulkner,
Right.
and come back and see what we can do.
I'd volunteer for that.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Someone else? You don't have the time.
I just don't have the time. to
I
do
just
it.
don't have the time right now. I'm sorry.
Normally as count, like Jessica.
Well, I
know-
ran with Anthony. I don't know if I should.
Oh, would you be willing to work with Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if
Great.
people feel they trust me to be impartial, absolutely, and I will be.
Okay, well, I trust you.
You've proven to me
You
you're
are?
pretty, you're very impartial, so.
Okay. Yeah,
right.
yeah, I'm happy to do it.
So today is April the 8th, April 8th, May 8th. How about the first meeting in June? Is that too soon or give you a little more time? Do you
Yeah,
think?
it's good.
Certainly, if you need more time, just
Yeah, I'll start reaching out. and
That'd be June
speak to
10th.
Jessica and-
June 10th.
June tenth.
The June 10th meeting. Okay, so that gives you 2 months.
Give us 2 months and we can all take, if you have any questions or if you have any, ask for assistance, please do so.
Sure.
We look forward to hearing your thoughts.
I'm a supporter of our mayor. Yeah, I like the 3 months worth of work, the involvement, the time spent, and everything's moving in the right direction. And I think to do the fair thing would be getting all the facts first, that's all.
Well, the mayor has asked the council, he thinks this is a problem and he'd like us to try and resolve the problem. So for the betterment of the community, we can move forward.
Right.
Because it seems to be an evergreen issue that seems to continually, see itself being, the question being raised.
Yeah, going back to the first mayor under this form of government, it became a big issue back then,
Right.
12 years ago, so it's never been.
Past practice, of course, I believe carries weight. So, traditionally, it becomes a precedent. I think that's something that has to be made. We can go from there too. Okay? Thank you. Anyone have any questions on it? No? Okay. Public may comment on this at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Rossi, your comments, please. Perhaps you might want to step to the podium and.
No, we don't have that set up yet, but we
Well,
will,
the podium isn't set up?
well, it's set up for that side, but you want me to address the only,
It's up to you.
no, we'll set that for another time.
Okay.
Actually, the only thing I was gonna, again, I think that the council has already talked about some of the things that's going on. So again, this month is important to me. It's not only my birthday, which is April 15th, just in case anyone was interested in having a.
Sorry?
My birthday is April 15th on tax day, in case anyone's interested in having a big celebration for me. Just kidding, guys. But tomorrow is our business administrator's birthday.
Congratulations.
Okay. But how's that? Good? All right. So I just want to just echo some of the language, some of the things that we talked about which was the child abuse, right? So It is, this month is child abuse prevention month. So child abuse and child neglect continue to threaten the lives and health of over millions, which I believe is 7.5 children in this country have been reported of child abuse. Their physical suffering and emotional anguish challenge us as parents, neighbors, and citizens to increase our attention to their protection and intensify our efforts to prevent their maltreatment. Children may be endangered by physical battering, denial of the basic necessities for life and health, sexual abuse and exploitation, or emotional cruelty. Public concern can help prevent maltreatment and help protect children. Action taken after cruelty has occurred is often too late. Prevention of abuse requires that neighborhoods and communities be attentive to these problems of families in the midst and be willing to help when help is needed. It's required the active concern for educational, medical, mental health, law enforcement, and social service professionals, and the efforts of volunteers and private citizens. Health and well-being of our children underlie the future of our country and most importantly in our state. So please, if anyone suspects child abuse, please contact the police, teacher, a counselor. I mean, for God's sake, call my office and we'll address that. So no child should ever be subjected to abuse. And I also want to thank the Vernon Township's Women Club for decorating the front of our to spread that awareness. April is, as you guys discussed, the National Volunteer Month. So I want to thank all of our volunteers, past, present, and future. This month is dedicated to honoring all those volunteers who are vital to our community. I also want to especially thank those volunteers of our fire and ambulance departments who put their life on the line for us each and every day. In Vernon, we welcome all volunteers and we look forward to working with anyone who wants to dedicate their time and energy to serve our community. So thank you. I know you touched on I had a whole thing on the squatters, but I think we kind of beat that up a bit. So I don't want to touch on that, but I do want to add to the record, Kathy Zaitz. She will be serving on our senior advisory board. Kathy will make a nice addition to the board, and we welcome her. And I know you guys talked about the mayors, full-time, part-time, and that's all I have. Thank you. All I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mayor. May I have a motion to open the floor for public comment?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. De Benedetto. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Please note that this portion of the meeting is for agenda items only and is limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone wishing to address the council, please come up to the podium.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Peter Knight. I'm a resident in town. It's unfortunate, I don't think I'll have enough time to address something that I hadn't planned to address, and that is on the squatter situation. But what I'd like to put my remarks to tonight is what has become a acrimonious debate or discussion, argument, whatever you want to call it, concerning the compensation of the mayor and even defining what the role of the mayor of Vernon has. I understand Council President Rizzuto talked about Newark as a possible comparison, but under the Faulkner Act, there are 4 forms of government. Here we have a strong mayor council, and we operate organizationally as such. Very often I have discussions with people suggesting, how about we compare ourselves to Sparta? And Sparta is also organized under the Faulkner Act, but their form is called the B, and that's with a mayor and a strong council. So in that form, the mayor is basically a figurehead. The council actually has operational control of the township. I'd like to share with people that in Sparta, the mayor's salary is between $49,700 and $72,500. Again, I want to thank you. Again, I want to emphasize that's a figurehead role in Sparta. The mayor of Newton is $49,600 to $72,000. ZipRecruiter, which is a major recruiting site in throughout the country, has shared that, and this is in New Jersey, that the average salary for mayors. Now, keep in mind, this is mayors of all.
You have 30 seconds left.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, only 30 seconds. So the average compensation for a mayor is 63.6. The 25th percentile, meaning the bottom quarter, is 53.8, and next 75th percentile goes up to 95.4. So I guess this is something that's been kicked down the proverbial road time and time again. We've had previous mayors, I'll wrap up, with 3 mayors saying that this is a full-time job. So I hope that you do a fair and agnostic analysis. Be careful of who you compare the role of our mayor to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd love to talk about the water rule.
Please understand, back in 2011, the township underwent a major election, changing the form of government from a township manager and elected council. And then where the council was elected a figurehead mayor. By figurehead, the mayor did not have overall oversight responsibility on the township employees, but was required to sign documentation and exercise the office responsibilities such as marriage and things like that. The election was held, and the result of that election was a strong mayor and a weak council. By that, the council has the authority to develop the budget if in fact the budget presented by the mayor is not acceptable. There are ways of handling this where individual lines can be examined and revised. And there are laws requiring the level of voting to remove or to replace. So to make the statement that Faulkner is all the same is not correct. There are different forms of Faulkner, and that's what has to be addressed. I don't know what Sparta has. I don't know what Newton has, whether it's, I think what Mr. Knipe said was a strong mayor and a strong council.
Correct.
That's
Sparta.
That's, yeah, right. That's different from what we have here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Ms. DeBrand?
My name is Stephanie Blaine. I live in Glenwood, and I apologize for the shirt. I wasn't expecting to be here tonight, or I would have put on a different one. speaking particularly to what Mr. Rizzuto just said, I was going to suggest, I came up here in 2015 from Orange, New Jersey, which is the exact same form. It's the Mayor Strong form of the Faulkner Act. And because I was in elected politics and held elected office down there, it's, even though it's much more urban, it's a 2.2 square mile city with maybe, when I left, 33,000 people there. It still might hold value for you to compare things like that. There are other towns and townships. I didn't come prepared to name all of them, but I can certainly give that up, email or something to whoever. But think a little bit more outside of the box when you're looking for comparisons, because that's a much more accurate, in some ways, a much more accurate comparison than Sparta for certain, and I believe Newton.
Yeah.
And even though it's more urban, there's a lot of similarities. We might not like to say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Scott Castle from Glenwood. I guess it's the hot topic, the mayor's position, but I didn't realize that at the time. But I just wanted to add that I did like all the council's comments. I think, you know, I'm on the same page with that. I think one thing that's not mentioned, you know, besides mentioning the salary and the benefits and all of that, that would change, is that also coming with a full-time position is accountability, I think. You know, if you're making it a part-time position, it's hard to hold somebody fully accountable to get everything done where you're basically telling them it's part-time. When it's full-time, now you've got full accountability for everything that you need to do. You've got all the resources that you have, that, you know, you should have to handle that. And then one other thing I had just read a couple of weeks ago in the New York Post. It was regarding New York State, but I think it's relevant here. And it was an article about, you know, local governments, all of that. But in there was a piece that said businesses that are moving or opening in rural towns really, they did a poll, and I don't have the numbers under, I wish I did, but really prefer towns that have full-time mayors because they feel like they're any of their concerns or the questions that they have one person to go to. And they're not going to get, you know, oh, the mayor's going to be in on Friday or something like that. Like they have a full-time mayor there. So I think with us trying to get, you know, businesses to come here, I think we need the mayor there. And I know the mayor's putting a lot of work into trying to get that done. So I'm 100% behind the mayor being full-time. I'm not, you know, thrilled with spending more money on salaries and all that, but I think with just the small sample size that we've had so far, he's putting a ton of work in. And I think our return on investment for that money, you know, way outweighs whatever salary and benefits that he would get. And I think that was everything that I had. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that wishes to address the council? We have anyone?
Yes, Paul Weber.
Mr. Weber.
Good evening. Thank you. It's actually Cindy Weber. I live in Glenwood section of Vernon. I would just like to address something about the proclamations. I'd like to know if we can add a proclamation for Autism Awareness Month, being it in April. April 2nd actually was the worldwide National Autism Awareness Day, but the whole month of April is an Autism Awareness Month. Would it be possible to, I'm sure this is a little late for this month, but maybe we can add something for that
Well, we have another
meeting.
We have another meeting in April, and I'm sure this is it's a problem that affects many.
Very
millions
many.
of
It's
people.
very dear to my heart. I'm sure you all know that my son is an autistic child. He does volunteering in the community when he can. You know, we have a big community of special needs population here in Vernon, along with lots of other towns, I'm sure. don't know the figures on this, but it would definitely be something nice to see. We could possibly do something for them, give them a proclamation.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly not looking to make something like this a practice of citizens coming in and saying, let's make this a cause for a proclamation. But I think owing to the nature of what we're talking about, that I can't see anybody on the council or in town having any problem with that. And hopefully it'll be considered on an annual basis.
I would appreciate that.
It certainly is a problem that, a way of addressing children who have unique ways of learning. And having members in my own family who have had an experience like this, I see no problem in putting it on the agenda for next month. I'm sorry, next meeting.
I'll make sure. Yep.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weber.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Quite welcome. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I have Riverdale Public Library.
Okay. Mr. McClackery?
Yeah, yes, good evening, Mr. Rizzuto. My comments concern redevelopment. As you know, there's 4 controlling instruments that govern tax abatements. And here it's number 1 is.
What agenda item is this?
It's not an agenda item.
Oh, you don't have redevelopment on the agenda?
Yeah, but there's no tax abatement with that one.
Where was
The ordinance.
yes, there is.
Oh, the ordinance. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Clackery, the ordinance, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not supposed to talk about the ordinance?
No, you can. I wasn't sure what agenda item you were referencing. I apologize for interrupting you.
What Matt Jessup said.
No, I don't know where we're at. So anyway, number 1, as far as the tax abatements, which go along with the redevelopment, NJSA 4020 Long-Term Tax Exemption Act. That's the first instrument. The second instrument that you need, you being a township, a municipal ordinance, Title 10, Finance and Taxation, Chapter 11, Procedures of Tax Abatements and Agreements, enabling the introduction of the Tax Abatement Act. Number 3, you need a financial agreement with each entity. And number 4, you need a specific municipal resolution authorizing the municipality to enter into a financial agreement with each entity. Having said that, here's the kicker. You have an ordinance from 1607, write that one down, that limits tax abatements to 20 years. Now, that's one of the enabling things that you need, that ordinance, 1607. So as I said at the last meeting, you guys ought to look into your ordinances because you just passed a redevelopment plan to an entity and agreed with the entity that you go into 30 years, which contravenes not only the statute, but the rules and regulations of the Department of Community Affairs. And with that, have a great night.
Thank you. For anyone else?
Yes, Sean Clarkin.
Mr. Clark?
Good evening. Hi, how is everybody? Good?
Thank you.
All right. I just wanted to mention that after we've done all the research into the mayor's salary, it would be really, really great if you set the question up as a ballot question for the November 24 election and let the citizens of Vernon vote on whether or not they want a full-time mayor at XX amount of dollars or whether they want a part-time mayor. That would be very interesting to see if you were willing to put that question to the citizens of Vernon. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Or anyone else?
Yes, Al
Yes, and, yeah.
and Martha.
I changed my name, thank you to Brad Sparta. Now I'm no,
You figured it out?
so thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
actually have actually 2 points I wanted to make briefly in reference to something Mr. McClatchy just said about the tax abatement. I just need clarification, or I'm hoping to get clarification. In the event that property were sold, is there something like a rollback, like they do for farmland and so forth? I mean, an individual could sell that for a gross profit if they've got 28 years left on a tax abatement, and they could, certainly that could work out very well, very favorably for them. So I just like some clarification on that. And secondly, in reference to the squatting issue, that each lease is required to be registered with the township. I think it's $70. And I think it would be very helpful for the actual individuals who are paying this sum of money, the landlords, to be able to either have it linked with the police department so that they know that, oh, Ann Larson is renting the property at 123 Main Street, not Charlie Jones. And at least it's a help when they're trying to, if an issue comes up, when they're trying to address it. We already have this information being given to the town at a price to the landlord. Why not have it be, cross-referenced? That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Sorry, Jesse Palladini.
Question to that.
Yes, Mrs. Palladine.
Good evening. I did not have the intention of addressing this issue, and I'm still not going to state my personal opinion on it. However, I am both disappointed and surprised that council members and the attorney do not know the responsibilities of the BA or role of the mayor. Your town code says that the business administrator is full-time. Unless you change that, if you are able to change it pursuant to state statutes, the business administrator is full-time. As for the mayor's position, the attorney said that it is considered part-time from the township's perspective. That's completely inaccurate. And I'm wondering on what basis he even said that. Judge Weisenbach ruled in a lawsuit that Sally Rinker filed against the township. Judge Weisenbach ruled that he was satisfied and confident that the mayor's position was full-time and that the mayor, who happened to be Mayor Murata at the time, was in fact entitled to full benefits, health benefits, dental, and so on. So the CFO even made an inaccurate statement. I apologize, I don't remember exactly what it was. I was trying to write it down quickly, but she referenced something that was historically that way. Well, historically, the mayors have been full-time. Now, I don't want to have to say this, but I'm going to say it. When the 3 candidates, or 4 candidates rather, were running for mayor back in 2011, the reason why people got the impression that the job was part-time is because Vic Murata kept campaigning on the assertion that it was part-time and he would do it for $30,000.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to go as quickly as I can, okay? Just try to let me finish. Repeatedly, we said it is a full-time position. So, as far as overlapping responsibilities, there are not overlapping responsibilities between the BA and the mayor, and you cannot merge them into one position. So I'm going to finish with this. I'm glad that you held off making any decisions tonight because you clearly do not have the knowledge and information you need to make a decision.
Thank
But
you.
let me finish. I have 2 sentences, please.
Okay.
Thank you. You are really talking apples and oranges when you name towns and mayors and their salaries. You've got to look at all of the factors and you've got to make a decision based on that. But the mayor's position has always been full-time, and a Superior Court Judge Weisenbeck even stated that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. In terms of what the responsibilities of the mayor, they're clearly delineated in the administrative code, which was adopted when the township changed the form of government. And secondly, and I hate to keep going back to this, but when you were there, when you had firsthand knowledge by virtue of being there and seeing how the situation was handled, the comments of the mayor at that time, Mayor Murata, were taken out of context. The context was that he was comparing his ability to do the job as an administrator by saying, I could do this job on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, part-time, in terms of expressing his confidence in his administrative ability. That was the basis for it. Now, whether or not you like that type of thing or not, that became the statement that was used in campaign literature and in campaign comments. You know, so I just want to have the public be aware of this, that sometimes what we say in a situation that we really didn't mean it comes back to haunt us. Is there someone whistling?
No, it's some.
The police car.
Oh,
They probably were behind, you know.
No, that's where it came from, yeah.
okay.
I don't think anyone's whistling at us.
Is there anyone else?
I don't have any other, oh,
Mr.
Dunlop, I don't have any other hands up right now.
I had nothing until you spoke.
Oh, geez, Pat,
Of
thanks.
course.
Steve Dunlop?
Huh?
Steve Dunlop,
Yes,
Vernon Township.
yes.
Talked about what Mayor Burrell ran on and the fact that he could do it 3 days.
No, Mayor
I said
Murata said that.
Burrell.
No.
Murata.
Murata said that.
I thought you said Burrell.
No.
And I'll take that back. I think Mr. Sparta made the most cogent point about the squatters. I don't think it's right to put this on the police department. The police department have enough responsibility that they don't need to be riding by people's houses when they're on vacation. And if they happen to miss something, the township going to be liable because they were told to talk to the police. I've lived in the same house for 29 years. I would make sure that my neighbors knew if I was going to Florida for a month or 2 months, that the only one that should be at my house would be my son, who they all know. If they see somebody at my house, then they would call me, they would call the police, and the police would immediately come and remove them because that would be illegal trespass. To try to make the police responsible, in my opinion, just is not right. They've got enough to do without being riding by people's houses when they're on vacation for the summer. So I don't even think that should be considered. I agree that an ordinance is troublesome because it does become a civil matter and will probably be all over the headline news nationwide. And there'll be a lawsuit against the township, which we can ill afford. So I think the best way to handle it is, as Brad said, let your neighbors know if you're going to be away. Ask them to keep an eye on your house. And if they see something that shouldn't be going on, call the police, call the owners, let the homeowners call the police. As far as the mayor situation, I don't know why there was discussion about salary. That wasn't on the agenda. The discussion was about full-time, part-time. I think the mayor knew when he ran what the responsibilities and requirements were. It was no different than it was under Mayor Shortway or under Mayor Burrell. So I don't know who's actually pushing this right now. I assume it's the mayor. He knows what he ran on. He knows what he signed up for, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
And I do look forward to seeing what you guys come back with, you and Jessica. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I don't have any other hands up.
May I have a motion to close the floor to the public? Moved by Mr.
Second,
Well, Mr. Sparta, seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried. Okay, all members have received a copy of the bills list. Wishing to comment on this and for a question.
I do have one quick question for Danelle. It was, for C International Corp for computer licenses. It's, check number 61532. What licenses are those for?
Give me 1 second. Oh, those are for Duo. So we are required by statewide insurance for the purposes of protection of our computer systems and obviously the integrity of the computer systems to have a multi-factor authentication, and that is for that multi-factor authentication.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyone else?
61522. NJMEBF.
Yes, that's for health insurance payments.
Okay. And another one. 61541, retainer. Yeah, 541 retainer for Josh's form. Is that just to finish up of February?
Yes.
Also too, is it possible, I know we tend to use the same vendors over and over again, which is fine. Is there any way that we can get a list given to us of any new vendors that are on the bill list that we've never done business with before?
Any new vendors?
Yeah. Company XYZ, we've never done anything with them before.
Let me look into it. Let me see what kind of reports I can run
Yeah,
like that.
You can highlight it on this report. Like, could you just
or even just highlight.
highlight it on this report? You know, say,
Right, so sometimes we will set up a vendor like a year in advance.
oh,
So I won't necessarily, you know what I mean?
yeah, it won't be new.
I can run like vendor history reports. Let me look into it.
Okay,
Okay.
Beautiful.
thank you.
No, I'm okay.
Jess?
Yes. I could take
Yeah, because I'm looking through the bills list and there's always multiple telephone services. When are we moving to our new phone service?
So,
Do we know that yet?
so we would have to go out for a competitive contract for that item. So I believe we were putting together specs still on that. Did we have I don't think we have a date yet, but we were still putting specs together on that to go out for competitive contract.
And we're also waiting for the fiber to come at least close to this building, so.
Because, yeah, 61520, $944 for long distance services. That's a lot.
Yep.
That's it.
DI, that's still in the round.
Yeah, that goes back a long
I
way.
know. Is that even around still?
I didn't know they were still in business.
Long distance. We pay long distance to call Hamburg. Ridiculous, so. But that's coming to an end soon, so we'll fix that problem.
I think you're addressing that, aren't you, Nick?
No,
Oh,
you're talking about, I'm sorry,
no, and the MCI long distance service.
yeah, we pay long distance for just calling Hamburg or
Yeah,
New,
right. I
so.
think you're addressing that, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's part, yeah, we're waiting for fiber to get over here and then we already.
And then
got
we
the
can
bid-
properly spec it out.
Yeah, we can spec it out and then, we've already met with the CEO of Planet Network and Warwick Valley, so we'll see what they,
And they're going out to bid on that?
So it's competitive contract. Not bid, but.
I mean, somebody that has a contract will be able.
No, so competitive contract is similar to bid. It's a similar process. But the township's not required to take like the lowest bidder. Because there could be other things that are looped into something like phone and network systems that
Right.
might be more advantageous to go with, but might be more expensive versus another one that doesn't have that option, right? So the township has the ability to rate. There's a rating committee. There's specific rating sheets that you have to rate, and then they're submitted to our QPA and not anonymously, individually. And then there's an award after that.
If something is published publicly or through the.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great.
The reason I was laughing is because I'm in the process of changing residence in town. And I was going through a box and I had all my credit cards. And one of them was my MCI credit cards, which I don't even know why I had it. I haven't used MCI and I don't know how many.
Collector's item.
So that's why I just thought it was funny. Thank you. Anyone else? All council members received a copy of the minutes of March 2024, our special budget meeting minutes. May I have a motion? Put that on, those minutes on the floor for.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Any additions, changes, deletions, questions? No? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta.
Yes, but abstain on the March 20th.
That's what we're voting
With
on now.
March 20th, what we're doing.
Oh, you're just doing March 20th? I'm sorry.
Together.
Again, I'm sorry. I thought you were doing them all together.
Council President Rizzuto,
Yes.
motion carries.
Minutes for meeting, regular meeting of March 25th, 2024. May I have a motion to place those minutes on the floor for consideration?
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Any additions, deletions, comments, changes on this particular group of minutes? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Bucieri.
Since I logged off, I wasn't there for the full meeting, I'll abstain.
Okay. Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Any member of the council wishes to have any of these resolutions separated and voted on separately, please advise and I will separate them. Resolution 24-106, a resolution appointing a fund commissioner and an alternate fund commissioner to the New Jersey Municipal Employee Benefits Fund. Resolution 24-107, approving active volunteer firefighter for membership in the New Jersey State Firemen's Association, Kurdzeel. Resolution 24-108, a refund overpayment, block 273, lot 103, McLaughlin Jr. Resolution 24-109, refund overpayment, block 273, lot 105, McLaughlin Jr. Resolution 24-110, refund overpayment, block 345, lot 2, McLaughlin. Resolution 24-111, participant resolution LEAP implementation grant FY 2024. Resolution 24-12, refund overpayment, block 599, lot 113, Core Logic. Resolution 24-113, refund overpayment, block 335, lot 17, Core Logic. Does anyone have any wish to separate any of these? If not, then may I have a motion to approve, to place the consent agenda on the floor for consideration?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Any questions or comments?
On 24-106,
Yeah.
whether they members of a union that become commissioners in their own fund, is that it?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
The people that would be approved appointing a fund commissioner, an alternate fund commissioner. What's that all about?
So we are part of the North Jersey Med. That is the Municipal Employee Benefits Fund. It is a insurance fund for municipal health benefits. So because it's a joint insurance fund, it means that we are members and we have a controlling interest in that group, right? So we go, there are meetings, they talk about the fund in general, and we have obviously the opportunity and ability to voice our opinion in that.
So as a member, then as a group, people here vote for their representative for this year?
Well, actually, what we're looking at here is the chief financial officer and the business administrator as being affirmed as the fund commissioner for the fund year 2024 until a qualified successor has been appointed, and further resolved that chief financial officer is appointed to serve as alternate fund commissioner for the same period.
Okay.
These are for the medical and prescription benefits as part of the employee benefits program, which is effective until 2023.
Okay, that answered my question.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ruggieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries.
This year this next item is the introduction of the 2024 municipal budget. Resolution 24114. May I have a motion to place this budget on the floor for consideration?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sparta. Just as a point of information, this budget is not the same budget that was introduced previously. This budget is a budget that has been reworked with members of the council and members of the administration, CFO, and the mayor. And it brings to the floor a budget that has no increase in taxes. This is the third year we've done this. First 2 years, first year when I was president, and then the second year with Mrs. Bucieri was council president, and then this year, it's a budget that I think is very, very, very tight. Of course, there's always people who may consider otherwise, but it relies upon substantial use of fund balance. I believe it brings it down into the area of 15% of the budget. This is something that I don't believe we can continue to do. But I think it recognizes the feeling that the council has, the residents of the community, that owing to the nature of what's been going on nationwide in terms of inflationary trends with costs, and of course, the hope that as we move forward with the various projects, that we will be able to experience some relief by additional revenues that may be introduced into our budget. Any council members have anything? Mrs. Bucieri, you have anything else to say?
I do agree with the sentiments that you echoed, that we've definitely, this is an acknowledgement of the tough financial times that ourselves as taxpayers are facing, and our fellow community members are facing. And I'm glad that we've been able to have a budget now the third year in a row without increases. However, I don't know how much longer that is sustainable with consistent increases in costs on the municipal side, in benefits, in products and materials. So, next year is next year. We don't have to think about that right now, but I think it is something that we need to, when that time comes, I don't know how long the 0% increase is sustainable. Hopefully, we will have some new income revenue streams coming into our township. That's always hopeful and a possibility. So you know, that's a discussion we'll have next year.
Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, I'm happy to see that we were able to come in with a 0% tax increase to the taxpayers. We'll be left with about 15% of the budget in reserve, which is, in my opinion, a safe amount. And the reduction from 4.58 to 0 was a result of some funds that were $600,000 that were collected from sale of properties that were sitting in a fund. So it's been applied. And to echo Natalie's statement, can't do this forever. And hopefully some of these revenue ideas do in the future help us out. So it's 3 years in a row. It's a rarity. So we're doing our best.
Mr. Sparta?
First of all, I think it's important for everybody to know that this is just an introduction and is not going to be, hopefully it's not the final budget. Hopefully it still will continue to be looked at and refined as needed. Like my fellow council members, I echo the same sentiments that, you know, it's very tough in this day and age to keep going at 0. And I think it's imperative to us as council and as mayor to start looking at our other revenue streams that we have coming in and start talking to some of our business members in town as to what we could possibly do to raise some revenues that doesn't hurt the local community member. So hopefully, you know, there's some things on the horizon that are gonna give us some reprieve, I hope. It can't come soon enough. But I think we're getting into difficult times where, you know, we can't always be looking at going to our taxpayers to balance our budget. And with those times comes very difficult decisions that have to be made. And I think we need to look at our appropriations ongoing and see what we can do to limit our expenses and our appropriations so we don't have to go to the taxpayer. And also in conjunction with that, look and see how we can increase our revenues as well. So I appreciate the time that many council members put in on this, the mayor and the CFO and their staff to go ahead and scrape together the numbers to make this work to have support of the council. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparta. Mrs. Di Benedetto?
Yeah, so I'm also grateful that we were able to go with the 0%. I think it's well known, I'm not a huge fan of taxes. So, and I want to echo something Brad said about limiting expenses. Inflation is out of control, and in the private sector, we've had to learn to do more with less. And I think that municipal governments should start following that same model. I hope we can do that in the future. I also hope for new revenue streams coming in to help offset the expenses and that we don't have to pass this burden on to the taxpayer. And I'm grateful we didn't have to do it this time.
Thank you. So that in mind,
Roll call.
roll call.
Ready? Councilmember Bushieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Before we do that, don't we need a motion for public for the next one? I don't see that on the agenda.
What's that?
For public comment
No, there's no comment on this.
for the second reading, there's no comment?
No,
Oh.
Yeah.
reading, this is the first reading.
This is the first reading. This is for the.
No, I mean
ordinance.
for the ordinance. Yeah, don't we need a public comment for the ordinance?
It's public.
Oh, but it's not on the agenda.
Yes. Public hearing, second reading.
Or
Oh, okay.
2405.
All right.
You don't get that
Okay.
special agenda.
Oh my gosh, I'm having like a, okay, yes,
Are you
forget
having
it. I'm having,
flashbacks?
yeah, I'm having a flashback. Forget it. Never mind.
Public hearing, second reading of ordinance 2405, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon in the County of Sussex, New Jersey, adopting a redevelopment plan for the property located in township identified as block 525, lots 18 and 19 pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A-1, at Sequitur, parentheses 151-161, NJSH Route 94. This is the property known as the Ryan Homes property. May I have a motion? Place this on the floor and open it to the public.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Floor is open for consideration and comment on public ordinance 24-05. Anybody wishing to address the council, please come forward. Do we have anybody online?
Yes, I have Sean Clarkin.
Mr. Clarkin? Got the Bible, please.
Yes,
Mr.
can you hear
Clarkin?
me? Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. I think that the Ryan Properties project is phenomenal. All right, that's a great opportunity for the town. I'd like to see it expanded, where other properties of this size being located so close to the town center also be modified, have their zoning modified, so that the flexibility of the property owner doesn't have to come to the town to look into developing their property in different ways. If we're able to do this for Ryan Properties, we should modify the zoning for other properties similar to this in size, perhaps anything larger than 8 acres. And if it's larger than 8 acres, it automatically gets this additional zoning so that we can expand the town. Other than that, I think it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr. Dunlop.
Steve Dunlop again. When this was first brought up and there was talk about buying the additional lot to the east of the stables, I know they call it north and south, but it actually runs east and west there. That was a Metairie property, and they were talking about the taxes owed, and the lawyer said we had to treat it separately. We had to approve it. It was explained that that was going to be an emergency entrance only. I understand now that they look at that as a secondary entrance, as opposed to just the one across for minerals. Can you clarify that, or has that been changed? Is that now expected to be a secondary exit so they can go in either way? Or is it going to be just an entrance for emergency vehicles if the main entrance is blocked because of some kind of a incident, fire, police, whatever? You guys know that.
The comments that I have heard were essentially yours, because having a single entrance and exit by virtue of a traffic light, which is down near the ski area, it creates a problem in case there is an emergency. Secondly, by having an alternate area, I can only guess that this was discussed with the planner and who would handle this. Am I correct, Mrs. Bennett? Mrs. White?
It would be. I don't know if have they gone for like final site plan approvals? I don't know about any of them. So that would all, yeah, that would all be addressed at that point.
At land use.
All I remember is when it was originally presented, that was just going to be an entrance exit for emergency vehicles. Looking at it later, it looked like it was just an alternate entrance, so they could use either one. I know it's gonna be problematic with having their entrance right across the street from minerals. There's probably gonna have to be a red light. There's a fair amount of traffic as it is just coming out of minerals and the condos. So something maybe to look into, maybe the land use board's, I don't know.
Mayor, can we make sure that that issue is addressed?
Yeah, I'm looking at the site plan here. I mean, I think it is to an entrance and an exit, but again, yeah, it gets I have to look back.
Yeah, when I looked, it looked like they had changed it to, it was just gonna be a secondary entrance and exit, which was not the way it was originally presented.
Certainly.
That I could be wrong.
Bringing it to our attention.
They would need NJDOT approvals anyway. And then the land use board would have to give their approval. So, and there's obviously a public process for that too, that you can comment on.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, me,
Yes, Mr. Knight.
if I could get up.
Take your time.
Again, Peter Knight. I would like to strongly agree with Sean Larkin's comments. I think this development is key to our future. I'd like to also, particularly in my role as chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I think we need to take a hard look at what properties make sense to zone differently to let a truly smart growth plan could be developed to allow commercial development. The issue about what Mr. Dunlap just spoke about, I'm sure this has either been or will be, as Donnell pointed out, a DOT requirement to be reviewed and applied. The DOT is very, very difficult to work with. For instance, in Frankfurt, which I was involved with, when Wawa wanted to build their property, there was a big holdup by DOT because DOT wanted the exit from Wawa to be directly aligned with the exit from the Quick Check. And this was simply so that without a traffic light, both those cars exiting can see each other and know what each other are doing. And that delayed the project for a considerable time. But I'm glad to hear what both Sean and Steve brought up.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I have Ochams too.
Hello, yes.
Yeah, good evening. It's Tom McClackery. Yeah, in case you're wondering whether I support redevelopment plans, redevelopment zones, no, I don't. What we're talking about here is a golf course and a stables, horse stables. and yeah, it's just to benefit the developer and to give them more money on the taxpayers' back. So no, I don't support it at all. And this 9-hole golf course was the former spray fields for Legends sewer plant, which tells me the sewer plant must be out of order. And it's also in the flood zone, so it'll be interesting to see how they work this one. And have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there anyone else?
Don't have any other hands up.
Anyone else wishing to address the council? That may I have a motion to close the floor to the public.
Move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Higgins, seconded by Mr. Sparta. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. May I have a motion to place this ordinance on the floor, 2405?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. I'm sorry?
It was, I heard Mr. Higgins.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fine. No problem. Any questions or comments? On this adoption?
Is there a tax abatement on this? Because it's not defined any place in this ordinance.
No, a pilot would not be, nothing would be considered.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There was no tax no
No.
tax on this?
No, a redevelopment plan allows, you have to have a redevelopment plan in order to enter into any of those types of.
Right.
Okay.
That's what confusing about the earlier comments. That
And this, just to be clear too, because I heard it a couple of times, this, there are a number of properties in town that have redevelopment plans. This is to approve, I believe there might have been a change in the redevelopment plan, based on what the developer is proposing versus what the old redevelopment plan was.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a roll call?
No, the development does have issues that'll have to be looked at. There's natural gas pipelines going through the property, there's wetlands, there's a Route 94 traffic, all the above. So it's something that I'm sure the planning board will be looking at.
Well, if they get natural gas in there, that would be a plus.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
My apologies for the confusion. Public comment, may I have a motion to open the floor for public comment?
Moved.
Moved by Mr.
I'll
Sparta.
second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. This particular portion of the meeting is public comment on any topic, and it's limited to 5 minutes. Anyone wishing to address the council? Yes, Mr. Knight.
Hello again. I first want to congratulate the mayor and the council for this new drafted budget. I know how much work it involved on everybody's part, and I'd like to, as a resident, thank you for that effort. I do want to comment so that people understand that the mayor is responsible for initiating or developing the budget. The council has the responsibility of going through it with a fine tooth comb, and the mayor and the council come to an agreement. So kudos all way around. I only remark about that to express part of the responsibility of the mayor. And we don't want, personally, I don't want somebody who just relies on subordinates to prepare that, present it. The other issue I would like to discuss has just flown right out of my mind. I'm sure it was.
Squatting?
I'm sure it was important.
Was it squatting?
Squatting, thank you. This is more of a comment, might be considered a political comment. But how is it any surprise that in a nation that allows the president and our Congress to allow squatters in the numbers of millions to come and squat in our nation? And the second point is, I'm very concerned about the issue of home rule. Home rule has been a cornerstone of our history. And you would think that something as simple that only affects the residents of a municipality, that municipality couldn't have an ordinance addressing that. In the United States Constitution, unless something is expressly expressed as being regulated for the responsibility of the nation, then it's open for states to create ordinance or laws. You go right down to the municipality. It's just, I think, one of the many steps where municipalities are being controlled from far above and not locally. That's my comment.
Thank you.
For the opportunity to speak.
Anyone else wishing to address the council?
Scott Castle again from Glenwood. Just a question on the budget process, because I'm just trying to get my head around it. So when we went from what was initially a 4.5% increase down to 0, I understand we used reserve funds, but were there also cuts included in that?
Yes.
Is there, do you know, like what percentage were cuts as compared to what was using the reserve? I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just curious how that works.
It was substantially high. The amount of fund balance that was used in terms of the total cut, probably in the order of, correct me if I'm wrong, this is right, probably what, 6, 8, about 75% in fund balance, 25% in cuts and appropriations.
Wasn't fund balance, it was the reserves.
Reserves.
Yes, so there was over $600,000 in additional revenue used from reserves that are not replenishable. And on the appropriation side, over 220, I think over $240,000 in appropriation cuts.
Okay, and is what is done is kind of a line item review where you look at what was spent, what's proposed, can we cut it, that kind of thing?
That's exactly what's done.
Because I remember listening on the, when there was the budget meeting and the department heads or where they are were reporting it. And I know a lot of times they would say, we don't need any increase here or whatever. And just, I know because I budget a lot, that's a great thing to hear initially, but really the question is then, if it's okay, can we actually cut it back a little bit? Because all little minor cuts are what add up to a big one. It's pretty rare that you can, just make some huge cut on it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not one to complain about no tax increase. I just get concerned about, I think previous mayors would kick the can down the road using the, just jump to using the fund. Look good, we didn't raise any taxes, which is great, but eventually that, it's gonna get us. So I'm glad about this year. I mean, I'm hopeful that, cuts were included in there. So that's why I had my question, but.
We looked at some lines where there might have been transfers, there might have been over budgeting or budgeted and then had reductions that we didn't need at all. And we looked into all that to where that came about as well.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm making up for lost time. I missed you guys.
It's nice to be missed.
Introduction of the municipal budget. You guys voted yes. What does that mean?
Means it's placed on the floor.
Yeah.
We have to introduce it by law.
Okay.
So that we meet.
So the vote was just to agree to introduce it. It's not the final budget.
Right.
Because there are some line items I still have questions about. And it's not the night for that. I just wanted to wrap my brain around what you were actually voting on. Perfect. Thank you.
Is there anyone online?
Yes, Sean Clarkin.
Mr. Clarkin?
Hello again, thank you. I just want to say that 3 years without a tax increase is phenomenal. All right, that's great news. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
One of the council members mentioned that we'll worry about it next year and that you don't have to think about it. Now is the time that department heads should be required to come back with out of the box thinking of how they're going to reduce their budgets in 2025. This is the time the budget work gets done for 2025. This isn't the time that we just move on and we think about whatever else we have to do. We have to plan for 2025 and make sure that we get a fourth year without an increase. And obviously, the only way you're going to do that is by being smarter and spending our tax dollars in smarter ways. With that being said, I just would like to go back to something I've asked for several times. I've been trying to find out, I've been hoping to hear about a Vernon MUA meeting where the MUA comes in and tells us what their expansion plans are. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if the MUA has met yet this year. We're in the month of April. I don't know if they've met yet. But I haven't heard anything about what the Vernon MUA is doing with their expansion, where they're running it, what properties are being targeted. I haven't heard any of this. And it's concerning that at some point they're going to be ripping up roads and the Vernon property taxpayers are going to have no idea or have no say in what the MUA is planning to do. Thank you very much.
The MUA will be meeting with the council at a date probably in May.
Marcy has it.
Oh,
Marcy has it.
May 20th.
May 20th?
No,
I'm sorry, I thought it was May
Beginning of May.
13th.
oh, I'm sorry. You're right. May 13th.
May 13th, yes. 5 o'clock.
May 13th, joint meeting.
It's a
At
joint,
5:30?
5:30, I'm sorry. 5:30. This doesn't show.
And what's going to happen at that meeting?
Well, when the MUA was formed, it was required by the council to provide a written report as to their operations during the previous year, and then to follow that report with a public meeting where it would, again, report its progress so that council members could question or see what's going on. The MUA, I sit on the MUA and has been quite active in utilizing the funds that were dedicated to it in terms of handling the requirements for sewage connections and so forth. I think that's going to be part of what's going to be reported to the council at that time. Questions, of course, can be raised. So
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much.
you're quite welcome.
Thomas McClackery.
Mr. McClackery?
Yes, good evening again. First off, I'd just like to comment on the budget. I haven't even seen it, so comments are not going to be too much, except Mr. Higgins was right on the money. And I have to say, Mr. Sparta was quite insightful and eloquent in his observations on the budget.
I've never been described as eloquent, Mr. McClackery, so thank you.
Wait a minute. Yeah, no, it's the best I've heard out of the council in a long time. But anyway, let me go on and rock some boats. In the ordinance that you for the redevelop, and basically let me drop back. There was a side comment from somebody sitting on the side about redevelopment. It's not about tax abatements. I don't know where they've been going to redevelopment school, but in the 30 years that I've been dealing with it, it darn tootin' is. And having said that, I'll drop back to the ordinance you passed at your last meeting. And in this one, you didn't really, the developer or the entity, he followed the statutory language, except for, and this is in the pilot, the tax exemption duration, section 8 to pilots of your ordinance. They follow the statute except for the caveat at the end of the sentence where it says whichever shall be greater. The way that you worded your ordinance, you leave it up to the developer to figure out which fee will be greater and send that money to the township. And here we're talking about the 20, 40, 60, 80% of property taxes, which is just like crazy. I don't know who wrote this. I don't know who looked at this, but boy, they really have to do some schooling there. And to send an audit, the annual audit, to the town attorney, what's he going to do with it? Paper over his windows? I don't think so. The mayor? No. I mean, the appropriate authority would have been the town auditor, not, and having said that, as far as the mayor's position being full-time, no, I don't think so. You can make all the arguments you want, but at some point, we have to start cutting costs. We have to stop duplicating services. Here I'm talking about the business administrator and the mayor. They both do the same thing. Maybe we should get rid of one. And we should have some, if we're gonna make it a full-time, there should be some sort of professional expertise in municipal government. They give courses on it. That should be required attendance. And having said that, have a good night.
Thank you.
Right. Jesse Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini? Mrs. Palladini?
Am I on?
Yes.
I guess I was muted, sorry. First, I just want to say, Councilman Rizzuto, you are 100% correct when you said that Mayor Murata's comments were taken out of context. Secondly, I want to say thank you very much to your work on the budget, both mayor and council. And I also want to add that I think that the mayor is doing a good job. And it is such a pleasure to see this mayor and council working together so well. Lastly, I want to give you a scenic byway update. You will remember that at the last meeting, Economic Development Committee member Heidi Labrie discussed Sally Rinker's dishonest and falsified interference with the byway signage that resulted in the wrong signs being put up and a duplication of taxpayer expenses to create the new ones. But I am very happy to announce tonight that in less than 2 weeks, after contacting the deputy director of the NJDOT, they had already corrected the new signs, and the new signs are already up and they look beautiful. And the county will be putting up signs on the county roads shortly. But it is with sadness that I want to say that within 1 hour after that meeting, Ms. Rinker and her associates were already ridiculing Ms. Labrie and calling her names in George Nikonoroff's hate group, and that's really sad. So thank you for the work you're doing, and I'm very pleased to see how this mayor and this council are working together. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Anyone else?
Peg DeStassi.
Mrs. Nastasi?
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are
I-
you?
A couple of I'm good, thank you. Clarification questions, if I may ask Donnell. Okay, you're saying that we reduced the budget by about, not the budget, the reserves by about 3 million approximately. And that's putting us, if I'm doing my math somewhat correctly, around 5 million left in our budget, in our reserves. So my question is, what does that do to our rating with Moody's? And is this taking us back to Murata's time when our ratings were so low?
Excuse me.
When we were put in a warning state.
I was on the council during that time and the ratings weren't that low.
Well, we were put on a warning. We were put on a warning.
I don't recall that, and I was on there for 4 years.
Donnell, could you explain it, please? That we were put on a warning list?
So it was not a warning list, so the township was moved to a downgraded outlook, a negative outlook
Right.
towards the end of 2018.
That's what I mean.
Because of Mountain Creek.
That's what I mean.
And the
Bankruptcy.
right, and the bankruptcy and it's
And because reserves had been hit by Mayor Murata repeatedly.
It
So my question is, where are we falling now by hitting our reserves again in 3 years in a row? Where's that leaving us with within the Moody's ratio?
As far as somewhere along the line, there seems to be a feeling that we, the township, is in dire financial straits. That we are, going broke, that our indebtedness is way too high, and that we are bordering on poverty. I don't know where this comes from.
Well, I've never heard that, so I don't know where that's coming from.
What has happened is we are working with a 15% fund balance. Okay, and that amount of money might be better. Somebody might like it a little bit higher. Some people might even say lower. I term it as we are trying to utilize our fund balance as smartly as possible. Statement I've made in the past is that the township is not the people's bank. Okay? That I believe the people have the right to determine how their money should be spent. And if in fact there's a problem and maybe their governing body comes to them and says, we're going to have to raise taxes a little bit. We can't continue to do it like we've done in the past 3 years, that showing that financial restraint, that we gain the confidence of the community. And I'm not going to say they're glad to pay it, but they will support that requirement that it needs to be paid. Now, as far as how we handle our indebtedness, this past year, we reduced our indebtedness over $2 million. I spoke to a CFO who said what we ought to do is immediately go out and borrow $2 million to avoid having these spikes up and down. And so there are ways of handling it, because right now, this year, we're at 0.995, I believe.
952.
952, which is.
Right, so we went down almost a half a point from last year.
No, almost a point.
Yeah, and that to me is a warning sign. That's all I'm saying.
No. That's the ratio. That's the ratio of our debt to our assets.
And
it's
that
very low.
We see differently on this, Mr. Rizzuto. I am a conservative on borrowing and on reducing reserves. You are aggressive about it. I feel I would rather see small increases annually than a zero budget versus being hit like this year. The potential was 4.5% if you didn't go into the reserves again. Now, next year, we're down to about $5 million in reserves. What are you going to do then?
We're going
All
to.
right. It's snowballing. It's snowballing into.
Yes, we're going to have to identify.
Higher rates.
We're going to have to identify sources of revenue that we can bring in. And we're going to have to be very cautious in our spending this year to try and generate.
Exactly. And my question to you is,
increase our projected fund balance.
Both of these developments that are coming into town are more than 2 years out.
You're right.
So there's not going to be any kind of revenue coming in for them for 2 years, at least minimum.
Yep.
So what are you going to be able to do for next year that you haven't done in the last 2 years. I'm just being cautious. I'm saying the red flags are up. We've got big issues here. And
I don't know where you
see
get, you're getting,
anything-
you, Mr. Stassi. I believe you have every right to caution the council on this. I don't think we're being overly aggressive. Business administrator.
3 years in a row of a zero budget increase is
Right.
aggressive.
No, I think
It's not
it's,
reasonable.
I think it's a
not
question of utilizing the budget and some of the reserves that have been in there that we were able to use. You know, when you plan
$3
for
million
snow, you don't get a lot
hit
of
to
snow,
the
that type
reserve.
of thing. So I
$3
think, you
million
know,
hit in 1 year is a lot. I'm sorry. That is a lot. And I'm just simply saying that wouldn't have happened if last year there had been a minor increase of maybe 1%. So what has happened is over the last 3 years now, it has snowballed into that now you had to go to a $3 million reserve hit instead of a reasonable hit.
Right.
Things are not, things are just snowballing. And
Thank you very
something's
much.
got to be done to
I
stop
think-
this.
I agree, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to work with the professionals and see what we can do. Thank you very much.
I hope so, because it's getting out of control.
Well, I don't think it's out of control.
30 seconds.
$3 million hit to reserves is.
Did we do
is
$3
not-
million this year, Danelle?
Yes,
so-
you did.
I'm asking Danelle, I believe.
You didn't
Oh, I'm
use, in
sorry.
this
I thought you
budget,
were asking.
you used $1.75 million.
1.75 million this year, not 3 million. Thank you.
Well, then your numbers are not adding up to what you said earlier. That's
I think-
earlier you said $3 million.
I think your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, you can cut me off. It's not going to
No,
change
I'm
the
not cutting you
situation.
off, Mrs. DeStassi. I'm not cutting you off. I'm just applying the same limits to you as we do to all
Okay.
residents. I'm
You're
sure
right.
that if you
Thank
have any,
you.
I'm sure that if you have any questions or comments, you can address them privately to the business administrator or the chief financial officer or the mayor. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
George Nikanorov.
Mr. Nikanorov.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My apologies. I was not going to speak tonight, but I decided to raise my hand at the last minute. But I wanted to say that there's some pretty positive news coming out of out of these chambers tonight. But with that said, regarding the budget, I think there has to be some caution because, as you mentioned, we have had zero taxes for 3 years. And the big question is, how long can that model be sustained? And I can see what people like Peg DeStassi and others are alluding to, because at the end of the day, these development projects are further out, right? So fiscally, are we going to expect a windfall in tax revenue within the next year from those two development items? No, we're probably not. So her point is very valid. What we may see a development windfall from, or a tax windfall from, is the sale of Legends. And I think that's what this mayor and council should continue to emphasize and push forward in order to right the ship. That's the one big subject that I think is on the minds of just about everybody in this town. What's happening with Legends? Who's gonna buy it? And what is gonna happen to the back taxes owed? I think if we get an answer to that, and if we see some positive revenue and positive development out of that, then I think we will be in a lot better spot. And we're not going to have the same conversation on taxes next year that we're having today. With that said, I have mentioned last time regarding a point of order I heard my name mentioned again and a group that I run. And you have failed to call a point of order once again. I'm getting very impatient with being harassed consistently on these council meetings for a group of people, for a group that I run, where I allow people to comment, including people in this chamber, freely. Okay? I don't believe in cancel culture. I don't believe in all those components. All right. And the people that profess to say one group is a hate group versus another group that's a hate group, look up the definition of hate before you start to continue to accuse and attach my name to something that is detrimental to society. It is unfounded. I will no longer tolerate that. And if I hear it again, I'm going to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have no other hands up.
Thank you. Anyone in the room? Oh, thank you. May I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Let's see, council comments? Mr. Hook,
Looking enough, I'm good.
okay. Mr. Sparta?
I just want to acknowledge the passing of a sitting Board of Education member. Mrs. Coliani passed away yesterday. And I did not know her at all, but I have another level of admiration and respect for people who run for offices in the town and sit on, especially the Board of Education, because all of us up here have done it for numerous years, and we know that that's a grind because it's a true volunteer effort. So I know she will be missed on the board, and I thought it was she needed to be acknowledged here tonight.
Thank you.
The second thing I want to discuss briefly, and before I get into it, I don't want to get put on crucified for this, but
Boy.
I want to look at our ordinance for public meetings from a couple different standpoints. One, I don't like how they're advertised as a joint hybrid public meeting. My concern is that if we have utility issues in town or internet issues in town, that we're not able to have our meeting and the business of the town stops because of that. So I'd like to see if it's possible to advertise it as a public meeting with a virtual option. So that way it's not depending on that virtual part of it. Has nothing to do with silencing the public or anything like that. It is solely about moving the business of the town forward in a time when some of the town can't receive it. The second part of the ordinance I'd like to look at is the public comment portion. And again, please don't crucify me yet. Hear me out. 2 times in the last month, I've sat through sessions that talked about artificial intelligence and what can happen. And the concern I have is the artificial intelligence has gotten so incredibly phenomenal that when we have people calling in from the public and their camera's not on and it's just their name, we cannot tell if it's them speaking or not. And I have a real concern from a town standpoint and from the person who possibly could be the victim of an AI attack, of somebody coming on with, a pre-recorded message that has somebody's name on the screen and their voice that's talking, but it's not them doing it. They could go on an attack that could be very slanderous to a lot of people, and that person could become a victim of that. So I'd like to see what the possibilities are of doing that. Again, it's to protect the town, but it's also protect a potential victim who calls in to the meeting. So if we can put that on a discussion next month to look at, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. That's all.
Mrs. Di Benedetto?
because I didn't say it when I was speaking about the budget, I wanted to thank the CFO and the mayor for working with us so much on the budget.
Thank you.
That's it.
Ms. Bucieri?
No comments.
And I have no comments. Thank you very much for coming. May I have a motion to have a German? Moved by
Second.
Mr. Higgins. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion.
UConn's up 14-11.
I have to get home by halftime here.
It's 13 minutes left. First quarter, first half. Ryan, could you bring those?